What's up, Newmans? Welcome to this episode. Today's topic of discussion is about taking care of ourselves, also known as self-care, and what that really means. We've all heard the adage, treat your neighbor as you would like to be treated. Now, some people look at that and think that means we should always be nice to other people. Others think that it's more important to be kind rather than nice. And kindness and niceness are two separate things, but that's a topic for another video. Still, this saying is much deeper than just an invitation for reciprocity. It goes far beyond how we wish people would respond to us. It includes that, but it's also much more important than just that. But first, let's consider this for a second. Imagine if you had a child or a younger sibling who's a kid who you really cared for, and someone told you, everyone will treat this kid exactly like you want them to, but you have to first figure out what that is. Well, then you might sit down for a while and contemplate, how exactly do I want my child or younger sibling to be treated? Do I want everyone to just be nice to them all the time? Or do I want people to challenge them, discipline them, praise them when they've done good, and tell them when they're wrong or have made a mistake? Chances are, if we really cared about them, we wouldn't want everyone to just be nice to them all the time. That's quite pathetic, and there's absolutely no challenge in that, nor opportunity for growth. So going back to the phrase, if we want to treat other people like how we would like to be treated, then we first have to figure out exactly how we would like to be treated, as if we were the ones taking care of ourselves. We can imagine ourselves in the same position as that little child that we really care about. Do we want other people to just be nice to us, fawn all over us, and lay everything at our feet? Well, if we don't wish that upon a little child that we care about, then that wouldn't be something that we would wish upon ourselves as well, right? That is, if we genuinely cared about ourselves. Proper self-care is not identical to always doing nice things and always being nice to ourselves all the time, but rather really contemplating and meditating on how we should behave towards ourselves. It's not always about what we want, nor is it always about what makes us happy. Happy is not always synonymous with good. Self-care is about what's best for us and will help challenge us to grow and become more responsible for ourselves. Clearly, it's good to be kind to ourselves and have self-compassion, but still, if we are always being nice to ourselves all the time and have no self-discipline, we ultimately limit our ability to challenge ourselves and grow, and that could lead to many problems over time. Improper self-care can lead to two predicaments that many people often find themselves in. It's often the case that people will either treat their neighbors better than they treat themselves, or the other way around. On the one extreme, some people may be very self-deprecating and value themselves much less than others. And on the other side, some people may be very self-conceiting, feeling superior, and having an exaggerated or excessive sense of their own importance or value. It's one thing for some people to not care for themselves and to view themselves in a negative regard. And it's another thing for others to overcompensate for that by deluding themselves with arrogance and an inflated self-value. In both these extreme situations lies an incongruence between how people treat themselves and how they treat others. Real and proper self-care is balanced somewhere in the middle of these two extremes. It requires the self-consciousness of identifying our faults, shortcomings, and flaws, as well as the self-respect of forgiving our limitations and improving ourselves for the better. Self-care has to involve bitter honesty, as well as gentle compassion. We are all fragile, damageable, and imperfect in multiple dimensions all the time. More often than not, these things just get worse over time. And our pride and ego do a really good job at defending against these uncomfortable revelations. So, taking care of ourselves is not an easy task by any means. But despite the fact that we are not all that we can be, the proper attitude we should have towards ourselves is one that we would have towards someone or something that we genuinely cared for as well. And it's necessary for us to act as if we genuinely cared about ourselves. It's not just so that we can feel better about ourselves. Self-care often involves sacrificing pleasure in the present for a better or improved future self. Despite the fact that we are mortal, vulnerable, self-conscious, and capable of inflicting damage or harm, we have an ethical and moral obligation and responsibility for self-care. We all have something very valuable to give, and we make the world a much worse place if we don't take care of ourselves. As individuals, we each have a light that we must identify and bring into the world. And if we don't do so, then the world is a much dimmer place, and a darker world is a much worse world to live in. We must treat ourselves in a way that would be genuinely good for us, and only we know exactly what that entails. We need to take proper care of ourselves, because when we do, we are ultimately in the best position to make the world a better place. It requires a lot of courage and a lot of humility to be brutally honest yet kind and compassionate with ourselves. And the many reasons for our self-contempt will never justify the mistreatment of ourselves. So that sums up today's video. Hit that thumbs up button if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to this channel if you want to see future related content. I put out videos weekly. If you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, please leave it in the comment section below or inbox me personally. You can also find links to my email, Instagram, and Facebook accounts in the About section of this channel. And as always, thanks for watching, Newmans. I'll see you in the next one.